So then you made a stop in Boston before going.
Yeah, well, leaving San Francisco, I had a one-way ticket stopping everywhere.
Right.
And by the time I got to Boston, I was down to $100 or a couple $100. And I stopped at Martini Carl's, which is a dream of a clothing shop in Boston, where I get into elegant phases in my life. And you know how you look in 10 shops, you can't find what you want.
Yeah.
In Martini Carl, you want everything. Everything in your size is just what you would have bought yourself. Great buyers. So just out of, you know, nostalgia, I had no money left, but I went by and they had white turtlenecks on sale, white cotton turtlenecks. And I bought one or two, and oh, I got 3 or 4 compliments that day. Everyone thought I looked good in this. So the next day I went back to get some more. I bought 10 more. They were like $3 a piece or something. Incredible. And so now I had shirts for the next 10 years. And in fact, I wore them for 10 years. And they also had zebra striped socks, and I got 10 pair of those. And wore those. Yeah, I wore those because I always have trouble with the colors of my socks because I'm colorblind. Black and white socks you can't miss, right? So I wore black and white striped socks and these white turtlenecks for the next 10 years. Anyway, when I going out the door from buying my turtlenecks, I look up and there's 2 sleeveless suits in the window, suits, right? Sleeveless suits, and I thought, what a wonderful idea, because I was very athletic now, you know, I was doing yoga every day. And you know, in a suit, as soon as you get your arm up to here, it's holding your arm down. I thought, what a wonderful idea. You still got all the pockets and everything, but your arms are free. So, and they were black and white checks and brown and yellow checks. I mean, big checks. Like they looked like they were made out of chessboards. Okay.
Wow.
And I went running back in. Now I will admit I'd had something to smoke, but that's nothing unusual in my life. So I went back in, and I said, it says marked down from $297 to $29.90, right? How can that be? That's 10 to 1, right? And Mr. Carl said, oh, he said, that's legitimate, Mr. Nelson. That's Louis Taylor's in New York. He says they're a very good house, and they just went out of business, and we picked up all the remnants, and we're just doing them a favor. And he says they're both your size. I said I'll take them both, right, for $30 a piece. He says yes, but we have to tailor them for you. We can't let them go out of here. So they come back tomorrow, okay? So they're included in the $30. I'm getting tailoring, and remember, I now had the most beautiful body I'd ever had in my life. Right? I looked like a Greek god, but from the yoga, from all those, I didn't have an ounce of fat, and so on. And what's unusual about yoga is both sides of the body are equally developed. Only swimming and yoga do that generally. It's usually, and you have that little more muscle on the right with the yoga body. And here I was. So the next day, I'm on the way to Europe, or to Montreal anyway, and I jump a cab, go pick up all my suits, go to the airport, go in the men's room.
Logan Airport?
Yeah, and I go in the men's room, and I've got my 3-piece suit on, the Wallachs from my days, from IBM, from years before, okay? Probably a 5 or 6 year old suit. It would last forever, this thing anyway, right? And plus it was a little smelly by now because I've been working in it for a month and hadn't had it cleaned, okay? So I strip it all off, I put on a white turtleneck, I put on my black and white check sleeveless suit, okay? And I had long hair. It was turning white, okay? And big black boots, right? With the black and white striped socks. And black and white checked, form-fitted, tailored suit, okay? And the white arms sticking out. So I step out of the men's room. It's right there in the terminal. It's right in this particular terminal. It's right there in the terminal. And about, I don't know, 700-800 people start staring at me. They stop whatever they're doing, and they're all looking at me. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience of having 700 people stare at you just for your clothes. And I just froze, you know, like, what? What am And I really came close to going back in and getting my old business suit, you know. But I had stood there and said, "You're not a businessman. You're not IBM. You're not a programmer. You're an artist. You're a writer. You're a dramatist. You're a singer. You're everything else. You're no longer a businessman." So that was the turning point in my life, you see. And then I get over to the airline line, and everybody steps aside, and the girl goes, "Can I help you, sir?" It's like I'm some celebrity or something, right? No, yes, come up. So I jump the line too, right? It's unbelievable, just because of these clothes. And then I get on the plane and I'm looking out the window, and the stewardess said, "Would you like a drink, madam?" Because, you know, only women wear sleeveless stuff, right? But how I love those suits.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, and they were brocaded. They weren't printed. They weren't printed square.
Incredible.
Every one of them was brocaded. Every one of them with the right color, matching silver thread and so on. They were exquisite suits. You know, he was right. This Louis Brothers or whatever. So I dressed only in those. You know, but they were embarrassing to some people. You know, just walking around with me, it was like it's a circus act.
And the flight was going from Boston to Paris directly?
Well, this was to Montreal, right?
Oh,
so
right.
I stopped in Montreal, but then that's where my friend asked me, "What are you going to do in Europe?" And I said, "I'm going to teach yoga at the Club Med." I knew it. I don't know how I know things like that, but I do. And so off we go. But they wouldn't let me into England in that suit, right?
You're kidding. Would you land in Heathrow?
No, I was up in Manchester, Birmingham, one or the other. I think Birmingham.
I wouldn't let you in.
No, I had no money on me, right? I had $20 on me, and they said, "You can't come into England with $20." I said, "Well, then I'll go into France." They said, "You won't get into France without any money." And I said, "How do you mean I always get into France?" "Oh, now things have changed. The French will throw you out, and you'll end up back here with us, and we're stuck with you." And then they kept me there for hours. So, and this guy came through whistling "A Wandering Minstrel from Gilbert and Sullivan," in which they taught us in junior high school. I knew what they were laughing at me. You know. And so while I'm sitting there, I had nothing to do. I wrote an article, "Welcome to England," okay, because I thought this was a pretty awful way to welcome someone. And I was a writer then, so I wrote an article on it. And finally they got a hold of a friend of mine, and he said, "He's an eminent American dramatist." And they said, "Yeah, he's got no money, right? Either you sign for him or we're not going to let him in." He said, "Oh, all right, I'll sign for him." So they let me in, right? So the next day I was with Michael and his mother-in-law and his wife up at Carnarvon, which, you know, the Prince of Wales, that's his castle. And we're walking down a little quaint little street, and I see the Carnarvon Times. I said, "I'm going to sell my article and get us enough money for lunch for the four of us." And I ran up the steps and went up to the first floor, found the editor, showed him the article I'd written, "Welcome to England," right? And he read it. He said, "I'll buy it. I'll give you £5." I said, "You got to give me enough for 4 lunches." He said, "I'll give you £5. You can have a sandwich." And I sold it right there. And I was published in the Carnarvon Times, Carnarvon Herald.
Welcome to England.
Yeah. I think they changed the name to Welcome to Wales.
And then you went down to France from there?
Yeah, then, well, finally when I went over to France, I went in some trepidation because the British had assured me I wouldn't get
Did
past
you take a train and then a ferry, or what?
No, I flew.
Oh.
I had a stop. I bought that one-way ticket all the way to Paris.
All right.
Yeah. Where all my money went. You know, they charge a lot for that kind of ticket. So I get to Paris, and I mean, I've got nothing now, you know. And I'm in Orly, and it's 9 o'clock at night. And I'll never forget Orly, because I hadn't been in Paris for a while. In Orly, they have one long counter, and every counter there's a girl with her face like this, holding up her head, right? I'll never forget that. There's been 45 women sitting the length of Orly with their head their chin in their hands, the poor things, at night. So I call the Hotel Stella where I always stayed. Hey, Danielle. Danielle's not here. When's he coming back? He's not coming back. Oh my God. Well, I need a room. We're closed. We're painting. Bye. Hangs up. Now I'm out at Orly with $19.50, right? And I still don't have a room. So sometimes I come up with a good idea, and I call them back. And I said, look, I love the smell of paint, right? Get them laughing, right? I love the smell of paint. I love the ladders in my room, It brings me good luck. I mean, why don't you just let me have one of those rooms you're painting, right? And the guy laughed. He says, okay, I'll wait for you. So I get a room. And I have no dough. So I sold my camera at the flea market right away for $100 and some bucks. So I got my room paid for. And every day I get up and say, you got to go to the Club Med. Got to go to the Club Med. And the other side of my head says, no. Every day. Got to go to the Club Med? No. Come on. Got to go? No. Like that, day after day after day. And I got no money. I got nothing. And I said, oh, well, I'll borrow some money off my friends. I didn't dare. So I had no metro tickets. I'm walking miles to I'm getting invitations from my friends, fortunately. Walking miles, but I got no metro tickets, nothing. And then, I don't know, must have been 25 days. I was sitting there in the hotel, paralyzed by fear or whatever. And I wake up in the morning, got to go down to the Club Med today. The other side of the brain says, yeah, today's the day. Right. Oh, okay. So I put on my suit and I go down there.
The Harlequin suit.
Yeah, with a white turtleneck, right, brush my hair. And Harlequin suit. And I go down there and I have to walk over to the Club Med. I don't have any metro tickets left. I go in, I say, well, who's giving jobs in yoga, 7th floor, do. I go up there, he's on the phone trying to buy an apartment, a maid's room. When he finally gets off the phone, he says, yes, what can I do for you? I said, I'm your next yoga teacher. So he says, oh, well, that's interesting, but I don't need a yoga teacher. I got all my yoga teachers. Right? So I just stood there. And he looked at me. He says, well, and I was thinking, I didn't say anything. It was strange. I know they got a job for me. And just then, this girl comes walking in and puts down the telex in front of him on the page. She said, you got a telex, dude. And he said, excuse me a minute. Oh, I do need a yoga teacher. You ever been to Tahiti? Think of that, Dan. I knew he needed a yoga teacher before he knew he needed a yoga teacher. And then to show you how stupid I could be, I said, I'm not going to Tahiti. I just got offered a job in Tahiti, right? Surrounded by beautiful girls in bikini. I turned it down. I don't want to go to Tahiti. He says, what's wrong with you? I said, nothing wrong with me. It's American women in the club there. I know 90% of the guests are American. I don't want to spend my life with Americans. I've had enough Americans. Send me to a European club. He says, all right. It's very hard in the European clubs, but I'll send someone else to Tahiti. And off he did. And sent me, and he said hard, that meant sick. You will get sick.
Is that right?
And yeah, they got good and sick.
Where did he ended up sending you?
Agadir.
You went to Agadir.
Yeah.
This was in 70.
No, that was my first trip there. This was to Djerba La Douce. Djerba on the island of lotus eaters, yeah. It was hell in the summer.
Huh.
Water was like bath water.
Pretty warm, huh?
Couldn't move. No aircon.
So what happened? You went back to the Stella, you checked out, did your thing, and then you went off to
I like in these little stories to put in some lessons, right? I'd been a tour guide in America, and I said one time to my mentor, teacher, Mr. Burton, a very nice Russian gentleman of about 7. I said, why do we get people up at 7 in the morning? The flight's at noon, you know, we don't have to get people up. And I have to get them so early to the airport. He said, my boy, the first time you have a flat on the way to the airport, you'll know the answer to that one, okay? Plus, there's always things to do at an airport. People don't mind. So when the Club Med, when they hired me, they gave me a convocation, show up at the airport at 11. So I get out, or at 6 in the evening, whatever. I get out to the airport an hour earlier. I get down to the charter area, there's nobody. I look at the ticket, I'm in the wrong airport. I run upstairs, where's the buses to Charles de Gaulle, right, over there. I go over there, you got a bus going to Charles de Gaulle? The guy says, yeah, but it doesn't run very late. In fact, the last one just left, right? Look, there he goes, right? And it's on the other side of the parking lot. Right? I go, oh my God. And he looks at me and he goes, wait a minute. I go, shh, and he whistles like a locomotive. And this thing's so far you can barely see it. Boom, I see the brakes go on. Guy swings by and picks me up. So I have a nickel on me, right? Nothing. So I said to him, I'll pay you at the end of the trip. So there's 3 people on the bus. And I go around begging him, can I do a portrait of you for €8, right? I was a pretty good sketch artist by then, you know. No. So I get to the airport and I tell the driver, I'll have to send you the money, you know. He says, get out of here. Have a good trip in the Club Med, he said, right? So I got a free ride back. But that's the moral of the story. Take an extra hour going to any airport, boy, because you can get some real surprise.